Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Pro Lok. This is their part number INJIG-KJ. This is a killer jig, the ultimate installation jig is what this is. This is a tool that is used to drill doors for lock sets, wood doors, 2 1/8, 1.5 inch diameter holes, 1 inch cross bore, 1 inch edge bore, 2 3/8, 2 3/4 back set. That's what this does. This tool it's a unique derivative of the family of lock bore installation kits. Back in the old days, we used to sell a Westlock kit every couple of weeks. Someone would walk in and buy the Westlock kit. And back then, I think it was 1990, early 90s, it would be $330 each, which was a very fair price from what I recall. Kwikset had a kit for many years, decades probably. Just recently, in 2019, they actually discontinued that. And in early 2020, we are in the latter stages of exhausting inventory of that material, unfortunately. Schlage historically had a kit. They no longer do. A company by the name of Classic Engineering in California manufactured a very high-quality kit. They discontinued operation in first half of 2019, and we bought as much of their material as as made sense, because their kits were very high-quality kits, very durable. Everybody else is an also-ran, in my opinion, when it comes to the quality of that Classic Engineering kit. Best Lock had a kit. This Pro Lok is now the lock that Best is shipping when you order their Best kit. And in fact, I ordered the Best kit and was sent a Pro Lok. That was an unapproved substitution, so that kit. This kit is going back to Best for that to get worked out. But while we have the opportunity to review this Pro Lok kit, we're going to do so here and now. So I have personally machined, it will sound obtuse, but tens of thousands of doors. Every type of door, hollow core, solid core, mineral core, lumber core, structural lumber core, metal door, every gauge, the whole 9 yards. I've done it with hand tools. I've had it done with installation aids like this. I've done it with CNC equipment, okay, everywhere in between. And I've always had the philosophical conversation with the handyman, the locksmith, the installer, and they'll come in and ask for a kit, and I'll say, why do you like an installation kit? And they look at me like, how else would you install a lock? And it's a very valid question to ask. The way I would install a lock is, it's really all about the cost as well. This sort of kit ritualizes the steps that you have to go through to drill it. So I think in that process of making it step by step, you inherently divide out the potential for error. The way that I would do it would be with a 2 1/8, Morse bimetal hole saw, a 1 inch paddle bit in the edge, my Porter cable router and my Porter cable, 517 template, and a tape measure and a Kwikset, backset finder. And all those tools, well, the router and the Porter cable 517 template aside, all the other tools are super inexpensive. But you do have to measure. You have to measure correctly. You have to mark your backset correctly. On both sides of the door, if it's a bevel door where you measure 2 3/4 from, it's going to be a different place. You have to be sure to drill straight, and you have to be able to put the drill where it belongs. This eliminates a lot of the chance for error out. The only thing you really need to do is get the top of the door to the center of the hole correct. You need to make sure that your 2 3/8 and 2 3/4 are set correct. And other than that, it's either a 2 1/8 or an 1.5 inch hole. So I understand why people like them, but I've never personally owned one. And would I use one? Sure, I would. Would I go out of my way to use one because I felt like I needed to? I wouldn't, is the bottom line. However, I do acknowledge that I am in the minority when it comes to that perspective, that view. So this kit, and I have recently reviewed Oh, I've recently reviewed someone's kit. I think I've done a classic engineering kit. I may have done the quickset kit. It'll come to me. No, Major. I think I did one by Major. Maybe. Oh, I don't recall. But I've seen all of the kits. You know, the Westlock, the quickset, the classic. The Schlage kit I never really saw because that was discontinued so many years ago. Or maybe it was A1, you know, another locksmith company. So I've seen them, and I'm familiar with the ins and outs. The classic engineering kits were nice because you could get one that would do a 5-inch backset if you ever needed to do that. So obviously a carrying case. That's going to be number one. Okay, there you go. The weight of this is about 12 pounds. So when we get this clipped open, I'll turn it around here. No, now we remember. That kit was by a company, I think, called Big Dog. I think Big Dog. Anyway, we have other lock installation kits in there, and it was by a company called Big Dog. Installation instructions, which are linked to down below. And here are the contents of the kit. Very simple and straightforward. Now, there is a deviation between what's in this box and the installation instructions, and I'm just going to talk about that first. I was unaware of that until I checked the contents. The thing that's sitting here is not in the installation instructions. That is a 2 1/4 by 1 1/8 latch front mortise marker. What should be there in its place is the quick change tool to go from the 1-inch edge bore to the 2 1/8 or the 1.5 inch. So that quick change tool is gone. We do still have some quick change tools here. I haven't tried them for compatibility, but nonetheless, that's not in this kit. They must have made a change that postdates the publication of not only these installation instructions that are in the box, but the ones that are on their website, I believe. We'll get to that in a moment. I'm going to put this down because it's about 12 pounds, and we're going to take a look at this stuff through and through. We're going to go over the stuff, real quick visual tour. We're going to look at the installation instructions. I'm going to look at them while I demonstrate the tool. You might open up the installation instructions in a split screen or another monitor or whatever and follow along. So immediately what they have here is, you know, you've got obviously these really big handles, this real big handle that's going to get you clamped down to the door. They do indicate that they have these rubber pads. That is certainly nice. They are a little bit harder than, they're certainly rubber, but I wouldn't say they're very soft. The point is to prevent you from marring the surface of the door. I'm sure that material works to do that. Don't over tighten the tool. There's just no need. The purpose of this is to place your bit in the right location, not to damage the face of the door. Okay, this will set your trim, but we'll go over that in a moment. But this is really the tool by which you do that. You have a left and right thread, and you're in good shape. You can open that up. I don't know the maximum door thickness, but why don't we find out? Obviously, okay, well, it stops there. 2 1/4. You'll be able to do 2 1/4, and certainly down to 1 3/8. I would be quite surprised if it couldn't go to 1 3/8. I'm sure this is all in the installation instructions, but what would I need those for? 1 3/8. It'll get down to 1 3/8. Now, first thing that I do not like. I don't mean to say that. I'm sure this is a fine tool. This is where the 1-inch bore goes in. This is not a replaceable item. There's not a drill bushing here. You're going to need to, when you drill that, not turn that drill and go oval with it. Just in and out. If you wear this piece down, I don't believe this piece is serviceable from ProLock. It may be, but I don't know. But I'm thinking that it's not. Your backset finder I do like. So right now it's set to 2 3/4. You flip this little knob around, and you flip the other one down here around. Now, where you're going to butt that door up to is 2 3/8. You move the knobs back, both of them, now you got 2 3/4. That's pretty cool. That's quick, fast, and easy. You have these inserts. One here, a couple of screws. That's what's going to allow you to run your 2 1/8 multi-spur bit. You have your 1.5 inch inserts as well. I'm sure these are available as separate items. Really nothing else on here, but we'll demonstrate how to set this onto the door when we get to the installation instructions. So I'm going to put this aside. Let's knock off the drill bits. That auger style bit. You know, you have a scoring edge, you have a cutting edge. That's good. You're going to score that first. You're going to remove the material. A very large spiral in this auger style shape. Obviously a large shank there. You're going to need, I'm sure that's 3/8. Okay. Self-feeding bit. Be mindful of that. That self-feeding, that's going to start the party as soon as it starts to hit the door. The multi-spur bits are not self-feeding, which is probably nice because self-feeding really says, whoa, you got going now, didn't you? And you don't want to hit that face of the door with all these little micro teeth. They're not micro, with those raked teeth and really tear. You run that quickly into an open grain wood like oak or mahogany or back in the old days, Luan. You could run the risk of tearing that door and causing a problem. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. What I don't like about these sorts of tools is, you know, I like that scoring edge. Schlage made a tool one time that was similar to this. It had half of it was a cutter, the other side was a large scoring tool. And I used that bit for a while. It just got to the point where it was dull. It would not respond well to resharpening, and then I just went to a $12 hole saw. The problem, the good thing about hole saws is all those little teeth, you're not going to rip the veneer. And you get a nice clean hole, and that in the cup shape of a hole saw forces you to go in straight. What I don't like about it is you've got to get the core worked out of that hole saw. They're cheap, they're easy, they don't allow you to rip the door. That's what I would use pre-CNC equipment or out in the field. 2 1/8 multi-spur bit. Okay, I'm going to put that back in the box, in the case. So far, I only like the fact that we don't have a replaceable drill jig for that 1 inch. 1.5 inches. You're doing a Schlage. Let's go back in time. If you're doing a Schlage B400, there you go. You're doing a B100, there you go. You're doing a B250 series, there you go. The new locks will take 1.5 inches as well. I always encourage people to go with 1.5 inch hole whenever you can. Why? It's less of your door that you've just removed. More strength of the door. Cleaner look, usually hardware with a smaller footprint, but not in modern locks. They're going to be 2 1/8 or 1.5 inches, but they're still going to be big enough to cover a 2 1/8 hole. So use that 1.5 inches when you can. It's a little bit easier work to do, a little easier to manage, in my opinion. So there is no quick changer, so that's kind of strike two in the sense of, you know, I don't sell a lot of these kits, so I don't really have an opinion over it. But if I'm going to compare it to others that I'm very familiar with, I'm going to say there is no quick change tool in here, which, you know, some people want to be able to not unchuck the drill, and I agree with that naturally. And then that drill jig, earlier this week, because Kwikset has discontinued their kit, the quantity of drill jig bushings from Kwikset that we have on hand is finite. When it runs out, it runs out. And this client literally was perturbed, agitated. The client said, "What am I going to do with I've got 10 of these kits. What am I going to do with this bushing when they wear out?" And the problem is, part of it's the user. Part of it's the person who's working the tool. My tools personally, I could get hundreds of door operations out of a drill jig bushing. Why? Because it's my tool. I pay for the replacement parts, and I want the job to be as perfect as possible. When you hand that tool off to somebody else, let's just be honest. They're not going to necessarily always going to use it the same way that you would. Now you have other people who will use the tool better than you would. They'll take better care of it than you ever did. And sometimes I'm guilty of that as well, meaning I'll loan it and it'll come back cleaner than when I loaned it. So be mindful that this doesn't have that. This has, going to the end of the road, it does have a strike locator. So after you drill that 2 1/8 inch or 1.5 inches, you come with your 1 inch. Tool's going to come off. You're going to stick this in your 2 1/8 hole. Well, you put it in your 1 inch hole. Then you put your finger in the 2 1/8. It'll mark the location on the jamb when the door is closed. So it's a strike locator. Now, what took the place of that quick change, and what they have here is they have 4 latch templates, latch marking templates, and 1 strike template. So in the latch templates, they have an inch and an eighth by 2 1/4 with a 1 inch. So what you'll do is you'll place that in the hole that you've drilled. You're going to make sure that it's straight on the door, make sure it's vertical, and give that a couple of good taps. And in theory, it's going to score the perimeter, and then you just go in with your chisel and you clean it this way, and then you clean it this way, and you clean it this way, and it works really great. But for me, it doesn't. It takes a long time. Porter cable 517 template. Clamp that on the door. Bring your router with your 1/2-inch router bit. Boom, bam, boom. Square corner chisel, and you're done. And it's super clean, and it's super straight. I've seen latch preps done where, well, yeah, he was off a little bit, or she, I suppose. That was off a little bit. So this must have taken place of that quick change tool. Now, in the realm of the 1 inch wide by 2 1/4, they have one for a 1 inch hole, and they'll even do one for a 7/8 hole. That's, you're drilling a 1 inch hole in the edge of your door. So this will be if you're doing something else, I suppose. It's nice that they have a deadbolt strike here as well. That's going to be 2 3/4. I believe that's 1 inch wide. No, it's 1 1/8. 2 3/4 by 1 1/8. So that'll be for a commercial strike, a deadbolt strike. Okay. So obviously for the frame. Speaking of the frame, you're going to have your 2 1/4 full lip. So after you've marked the location and you've drilled your hole for the strike, you'll put that in there in the jamb, and you'll give that a couple of whacks, and you'll mark your outline, and then you'll finish it off with your chisel, is what you'll do. So that most certainly completes the review of all of the parts that are in the box. Again, no quick tool changer. Let's switch to the screen view and take a look at the installation instructions real quick. So this is the item that we're looking at, and the link to the installation instructions, well, they're down here. And here they are, and we're going to look at this, and we'll switch back to the camera view when it's appropriate. So we see how this unit's going to clamp on the door. You can see your 1 inch prep here. Read all instructions before you use this jig. Absolutely. If this is your first rodeo, learn how to get in the saddle first. Follow all instructions while using this jig. That's true. You might want to practice on some, 2x12s before you go to your client's $800 door or $2,000 door. No metal doors. These bits aren't meant for metal doors. Not that you couldn't use it, but the problem is you are not going to want to put this onto a metal door, get all of the lubricant, the oil, and all of the shards of metal. It'll be forever destroyed for using it on a wood door. So wood doors only. Keep the area clean. Keep children away. Store idle tools in a dry, secure place. Apply even, steady pressure to bits. Yes, be straight, be consistent with moving through the workpiece. Drill only halfway through on your crossbore. Absolutely wear safety glasses, and there should be hearing protection, ear protection as well. Eye protection, ear protection, all the time, every time. Wear gloves. Maintain tools with care. Keep bits sharp and clean. I'm sure you can buy replacement parts for most of this, and we'll check that out. Dull bits are likely to bind, and that's going to tear up your tool prematurely. When a bit binds, a high force occurs, causing the drill to rotate in the direction opposite of the bit rotation. Bit binding can happen if the tool is misaligned at the time of breakthrough, or when the bit makes contact with a knot or a nail. Sharp bits will ensure good finish and prevent motor overload. Yeah, your bits have to be sharp. Always hold the power drill firmly and brace the tool at all times. You can't be part-time when you're drilling a hole through a door. You have to be all in. Make sure that the hammer action is off on your drill. Yeah, there's no reason for any sort of chucking or clutching. This has to be on. Unplug the power cord when you are adjusting the drill. Absolutely, because what you'll do is if you have the tool in proximity to the workpiece and you're making a change, you might accidentally start that tool and hit something that you would really rather not hit. Allow the drill to reach full speed before starting to cut. Securely tighten all clamps, screws, and drill chuck. When finished drilling, turn off the drill, remove the drill from the jig, and remove the jig from the door. So what they're saying is, when you are done, let the drill stop, turn it off, then remove it from the jig, and then the jig from the door. Don't remove the drill from the jig while it's turning. That's what's going to tear up the tool prematurely. A trial run with a 2x4 will help you familiarize. I said 2x12. Must wear safety goggles at all times. Yes. Do not force the bits. No. So what makes this so special, they felt a professional high-quality jig was needed that was both light in actual weight while maintaining a high quality, the high quality that professional installers expect. I will say that the business end of that is noticeably lighter, okay, which is definitely nice because when you're marking the center line on your door, you do want to be able to locate that center line, and having a tool that's lighter in your hand to do so is really a benefit. The one thing that I don't like, and it's not just Pro-Lock, there is no indicator here of what my center line is. There should be a line on the edge of the door so that what I can do is mark the edge of my door with my center line and then just line up my lines on my tool to my center line. That's not on here, and it's not, like I said, it's not just Pro-Lock. Pro-Lock is proud of the latest addition to our installation tool line of products. There's that quick change, which is not in the box. And you'll notice that there is the full lip strike and then 3 latch mortise tools. And they're missing that 1 latch mortise tool that was in the box. Your strike locator, your 3 bits, your 1.5 bushings. Features and benefits. It's hard to decide which features or benefits to start with. Quality construction, and I'm just going to summarize this. Made from machined aluminum with hardened bushings. I don't see any of those. Well, I mean, I know what they're referring to. They're obviously referring to this. What about the ease of changing back sets? Indeed, 2 3/8 to 2 3/4 is a simple procedure. With the quick turn of 2 backset knobs 180 degree, the knobs are positive ball locking, locked in the proper position, quicker than it took you to read this sentence. That's true. You have changed or prepared the killer jig from one backset to another. It's versatile. It'll go between 1.5 and 2 1/8 and 1.5 quickly. Has those soft rubber pads that will allow you to not mar the door. They're textured, they are indeed, and will help that small amount of slipping as you tighten the unit. Protecting the door's finish is a major importance. 8 holes are milled into the face of the jig. Thick and durable rubber pads are seated into those recessed holes. There are indeed 8 holes. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 is where those are. Okay. Adjusting it because of that large knob to the thickness you're working on. In simple terms, doors vary in thickness. This feature allows the killer jig to be tightened to the door snug and tight. The easy adjusting knob screw is cupped into a brass bushing. The cupped brass bushing prevents the door thickness knob screw from walking or wearing the killer jig out. So what they're saying is, once you tighten this, this is your trim screw, and that's what's going to keep that unit in place. Okay, you're going to have outward pressure on the tool. So as you tighten the large knob, you'll then, after its position, you'll tighten this, and that's going to bias and put force this way. So you're tightening it this way, you're pushing it out this way, and you're keeping it on the door as a result of that design. So that is indeed a good design. You know, it obviously without it, the jig is not going to stay on the door where it ought to. Metal doors, they say that it can be used on metal doors. Hole saws can be purchased separately and used with this. A deed, again, like I said, you can do it. You may be hesitant to put that on a wood door after you're done with metal doors. I know that I would. Or if you do so much, it may sound extreme, but I would keep one tool for wood and one tool for metal. The quick change adapter is another time saver. Unfortunately, it does not appear to no longer be included. High quality duty latch and strike markers. Solid steel tools are for marking the wood door and frame, for mortising many standard deadbolt and latch face plates. The strike locator is easy to use and allows you to drill the latch or deadbolt hole in the frame in perfect alignment. With the 1-inch edge bore, after the 1-inch edge bore is drilled, simply insert the strike locator into the hole, close the door, press the locator against the jamb, which then marks your center line, where to drill for proper latch or deadbolt alignment. Heavy-duty multi-spur bit, 1.5 and 2 1/8, and the 1-inch auger bit. Replacement bits are available. Another feature of the killer jig is the durable powder coat finish. Yeah, indeed, it is. Powder coat is a very durable type of process for painting. Professional quality-looking tools is a direct reflection of your own image. And we will just move on from there. So what they're talking about first is how to change your bushings. They show that here. How to change your back set. And, you know, let's not read all of it, I suppose. It comes with the 2 1/8 installed. The 2 screws come out, you swap it out for your 1.5 inch. We demonstrated how to determine the back set earlier. Super simple. That is a very nice feature. Place the jig on the door at the desired height. That's where I would like to have a marker on the edge of the tool or somewhere to help me understand where I'm drilling it at. Adjust the star-shaped door thickness knob, which is here. So tighten the clamping knob, the big one. Then adjust the star-shaped knob, the one on the opposite side, the smaller one. Make sure that your jig is applied to the door, doesn't move, and is properly fixtured. When the jig is tightened on the door, the entire jig should be flat and tight against the door. If the jig is not flat against the door, start over. Loosen both of those and start over. Make sure and study what you're doing to make sure that it does get tight onto the face of the door. So now you've got your unit clamped to the door, and really all you need to do is start drilling. I would, of course, drill my crossbore first, halfway through on one side, go to the other side, drill it halfway through the other side. If you are doing work in the field with someone, I would recommend that you have a shop vac with you, and the second person is to collect as much of that wood as possible to keep it from not only on the floor, keeping a clean workplace, but also helping prevent it being ejected into the environment. That small particulate will linger for a long time, and collecting it right at the source is something we always try to do. No quick change adapter. So 2 1/8 or 1.5 inch hole first, and now they demonstrate it. You're literally going to get that tool placed in that bushing, and it's going to auto-locate the center point. Drill halfway through the door, remove the spur bit from the door, insert the bushing plate on the opposite side of the door, insert in the bushing plate, and then you drill completely through. And once you have that 2 1/8 or 1.5 inch hole through the door, now you bring the auger. Okay. And you know, that's a big bit. That's a lot of bit. So be mindful. It's self-feeding. Go slow. Let the bit do the work, and you will eject and evacuate all that wood out of there. And you may want to, when you drill that 1-inch hole through the edge of the door, you may want to recess bore that into the edge, into the cavity of the 2 1/8 inch hole at the 9 o'clock position, ever so slightly. I do all the time because there are deadbolts that need that additional relief to be there, and I will just out of habit always do it. Your latch marker, that's pretty obvious. You already have the hole drilled, so you're going to fit your latch marker right into the hole, and just make sure that it's parallel to the edge of the door. You don't want it crooked. It'll look awful. So take your time, make sure that that's straight, and give that a few whacks. Okay? You'll mark it, which is really the majority of work, and then it's just chisel work at that point. And take it from me, if you chisel the latch bolt prep enough, not only will you want a 1-inch wide chisel for 1-inch preps and an 1.1 for 1.1 preps, but you do it enough and you will get good at it to where by eye you'll be able to make it really, really exceptional. There's no replacement for doing it with a router. That's just the bottom line. But hammer and chisel, with enough practice, you'll get pretty good at it. I know that I did. Locate the strike. We demonstrated or talked about that earlier. Your locator goes in your 2 1/8 inch hole. Push that out against your jamb. This is... It looks like they're showing us a door here. Maybe this is a double door. It may be a double door. Mortise for the strike plate. Yeah, it's hard to tell. This may be a frame. It's just hard to see here. I think now that I look at it more, it's clearly a frame, I guess. So you've marked your hole. Now you know where to drill because you've marked it. You drill that hole, whatever the template tells you. Depends on if it's a lock or a deadbolt. You might need to go at least 1 inch deep if it's a deadbolt. This does not appear to be a deadbolt. And in fact, it does not appear to be a strike latch either. This is not the strike plate tool. That's a latch bolt tool. But here they've obviously got the latch marked out there. Okay, that's more clearly the frame, obviously. Okay, now, okay, so replacement parts. There you go. So they were all marked on the bottom of them, the 100, 102, 101. The one that's not shown there is the 103, and that is the 7/8 knob that's on here. Because some locks are going to require, not require, but some locks will call out a 7/8 hole. I'll find out from them what happened to the 106 quick change adapter, and we'll go from there. It could be that this kit ordered from Best, when I tried to order the Best part number KD304A, maybe Best's requirement with ProLock was take the quick change adapter out of there and give me the other latch marker, but that would not make sense at all because that other latch marker is really not necessary for this job. The only difference between the other latch marker and the 101 is this is 1 inch on the 101. The 103 is 7/8. It's a smaller size. You can buy the business end. We have sold just this part alone. You have everything else, and you want to use your tool, but this dropped, fell, was stolen, whatever the case was, but you need a replacement. Carrying case, those get cracked every once in a while. It's nice to have a case that actually protects the tool naturally. Your strike locator, 1.5 inch, 2 1/8, 1 inch auger style. Your bushings. You know, the advantage of the Kwikset with those bushings, they're bronze, they're oil impregnated, sort of bronze, and when bushings like that are heated up, they do eject into the process a very microscopic amount of lubricant. This is just steel on steel, so be mindful. Drill straight and don't put any undue leverage on that. And then at the end of the catalog, this is a Mortise marker, a Mortise pocket maker. I've never used this tool from them. It seems a bit cantankerous. I am a fan of any tool that makes the job easier, but you know, lock installation tools are like opinions. Everybody has one. I prefer the Porter cable. I forget the part number of that tool. This is not trying to sell you away from anything ProLock. They are an exceptional company. It's a costly tool, though. It's the 513. You can see it's online for over $1,000. I have owned 10 of these easily, and it's the one that I like to use. Okay. It's a far more significant investment than whatever this unit would cost. If you can't justify the cost based on how many you're doing, but you still want to make a cleaner hole, there you go, Pro-Lock. Function holes here, those are nice. Really is going to take away a lot of the work of measuring a door. You don't want to have a client's door that you are prepping for and you put holes on the wrong side of the door. You know, templates are always going to be something that you have to study and make sure that you understand before you start drilling. But as I said earlier, they do ritualize the process, and they help you eliminate the potential for making a mistake. So that's the good news about this. Let's switch back to the camera view and wrap up this video. Now, I absolutely endorse everything by Pro-Lock, and while I don't use their installation tools, I do have their Blue Punch, and I think every locksmith that is a locksmith probably owns a Blue Punch. Pro-Lock makes the Blue Punch tool that is available to punch originate keys by code, Schlage and Quickset, small format, others, and it is a staple. Everyone who wants to originate common keys, that's just a tremendous tool to do so. Ours is about 20 years old now. I've spoken with the factory on 3 or 4 separate occasions about either replacement parts or a full teardown of the tool, and they are just the most helpful of people. You will admittedly find the most helpful of people apply to companies that are in the game of supplying locksmiths. I think they realize they must have customer service and technical support at that level because there's other people to buy stuff from that will kind of do the same job. So they're all great, and Pro-Lock is no exception. They're just phenomenal folks. Whether or not I'm in love with this kit doesn't really matter. Like I said, I'm in the minority view. Will this kit do the job for you? Absolutely. There's no question about it. Would I recommend that you purchase another kit? No. I don't believe that this has any fatal flaws whatsoever. And also, the options that we have nowadays are... that option window is really closing down. And having a Pro-Lock kit, even though you may have loved the Westlock kit if you were doing doors in the 1980s. If you can't get that anymore, here's an option that may work for you very well. But like I said, when you think about the steps that a person might go through to manually drill a door, and then you think about the steps that a kit like this forces you to go through, I think what subconsciously people who like lock installation kits prefer is that it ritualizes the steps. You get that center line correct, it's hard to make a mistake at that point. You have to be, in my opinion, very uncareful when you're drilling the door to make a mistake. The only thing that I don't like about this kit and all kits, which is not a reflection of the kit, is the multi-spur bit. I'm scared of those bits because they really rake on that bit. You need to be careful when you're feeding in. And that's probably why that's not a self-feeding bit, because you get a lot of movement quick to the face of the door. Before you realize it, you've already hit that door and maybe flared out some veneer before you realize that's not what I wanted to do. So those little square diamond or pyramid shape that are on there center you, but you need to push. And then it'll score, it'll cut. And if you go reasonable, or what you might do, what I do is I'll run that in reverse a little bit, score the door as best I can. And if I'm working with a bit that is not being friendly with me, I wouldn't use the jig. I would score that by moving in this sort of direction to really score the unit, and then I'd get a replacement bit as I can. Okay, so the moral of the story, whether or not this kit is something that I have helped you decide whether you like or you don't, what I certainly hope that you understand is you will like the people that are behind this product. Really phenomenal. There's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Pro-Lock products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog that we have. And that's what that kit looks like. One last look there. They do include their product guide that's here. Obviously, you can look at all of this online. A lot of locksmithing tools and other security hardware, and their Blue Punch tool may not even be in here. Their key machines do not appear to be in here. Yeah. Oh, no, it is. Right there. That's the Blue Punch. These are all the different formats that they can cut for here as well. We actually own 2 of them, small format and Schlage, naturally, and they're, you know, you want to cut right now. If you've heard any hammering in the background, we're pinning small format. If you want to cut 60 keys quickly, you know, that Blue Punch is hard to say no to. It fixtures very well, being tip stop with small format. It's just really a dream. So, any questions on this or any other ProLock product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.